UWW-TV, your home for Warhawk Athletics.
Tamir Thomas, house call on the first play of the drive.
Corralo with the interception at the buzzer. It's in! It's in!
That one's back towards left field. Gone! Ryan Norton goes yard.
Scores, highlights, analysis, and accolades. This is Warhawk Sports Central.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV, your home for whitewater sports coverage. We are glad you could join us tonight. I'm Don Hernandez alongside Chris Pittner. We will be joined by the Insider very shortly. On today's episode, we will discuss UW Whitewater Track and Field's trip to Platteville, Warhawk Softball's weekend review, Warhawk Baseball's hot streak, contrasting spring seasons for men's and women's tennis, and women's golf's final spring stretch. We begin today's report with Whitewater Track and Field. This past weekend, the men's and women's team traveled to a stacked UW Platteville Invitational. 29 teams sent athletes to this tournament, and top placement in any competition was hard to come by. That did not stop the Warhawks as they retrieved 17 top 5 finishes, 4 from the men and 13 from the women. 4 Warhawks claimed first place finishes in the meet, with several Warhawks making their way up the boards in the Division III National Contender conversation. Chris, take us through some results in the tough competition there.
Yeah, I really think Tamir Thomas had a great weekend overall. He took first place in the 110-meter hurdles after finishing third in the heats, which meant he overperformed his position that he initially ran by 2. He ran a time 0.24 seconds faster than he initially did in the heats. And also, Tina Shelton took home another first place for the women's team. She took it in the 200-meter dash, and she also helped the 4x100-meter relay team finish third in an incredibly stacked field. And another standout performer for me was Justin Kraus, who did incredible in the 800-meter dash. He finished 4th place with a time of 1 minute and 54 seconds, which is blazing fast. And then if you also look at Dan Anderson, he finished 14th in the 5,000, which may not sound super impressive, but he also did that in a field of over 140 runners. That's just absolutely incredible, Don.
Yeah, and Chris, a major takeaway that really stuck out to me over this past meet was the young talent we have and the young firepower we have. I mean, we had multiple freshmen, sophomore, juniors just popping off for our team. But that brings me to the field events. You know, starting off in the women's high jump, placing 5th was Bryn Forsenberg, a sophomore. She had a score of 5 feet 3 inches. Placing 21st was Danielle Pauska, another sophomore, placing 4 feet 11 inches in the women's high jump. But she may have placed 21st, but she was not far behind Bryn. And then as well as Renee Rittmeyer, also another sophomore, placing 23rd with a score of 4 feet 9 inches, not far behind Danielle whatsoever. And then the women's pole vault, oh my gosh, we dominated in that. Tied for 3rd place with a score of 10 feet 7 inches was freshman Mallory Morey, sophomore Carlene Snow. And then the 5th was another freshman with Trinity Wilson with a score of 10 feet 7 inches, but unfortunately came 5th. You know, all these women, they're so just talented, and it's insane to see because they are just insane. And then the women's pole vault invite, we had 3 top 10 finishers. Placing 1st was junior Gracie Holland with a score of 12 feet 10 inches. Placing 3rd was sophomore Zoe Jenks Recker with 11 feet 5 inches. And in 7th place was junior Ella Maher with a score of 10 feet 11 inches. Also, Gracie Holland, the junior that I just mentioned, she came 3rd in the long jump with a mark of 5.42 meters. And then that brings me to the women's discus throw. We had one top 10 finisher, and that was 10th place junior Kenny Zarnecki with a throw of 39.43 meters. That's insane of a throw right there. Kenny Zarnecki also finished 4th in the hammer throw with a throw of 50.51 meters. And then in the javelin throw, as you said, Tina Shelton finished 4th of a throw with 35.14 meters. So pretty dominant on that one. Coming up after the break, the Insider is here to talk to us about UW Whitewater softball and how they bounced back from losing 2 last Wednesday to winning 3 out of 4 games back in Whitewater. We'll be back with more sports coverage on Warhawk Sports Central right after this.
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain success, but doing it the right way and being good citizens.
Your home for excellence in action. The WIAC Network. Watch and download here.
Matt checking in to see how Sam is doing on his project. And it's getting close to exporting now, the final step in the process. And it is complete, and Sam is hyped. Finally gets complete and spikes the ball into the end zone. Sam's celebrating with his colleagues, and they throw a flag on the play. The ref's going to call excessive celebration. Sam is in disbelief and can't believe it. He tries to dispute the call, but the ref is not having any of it.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV. Whitewater softball played 6 games between Wednesday and Sunday afternoon. The Warhawks struggled early last week as they were swept in a doubleheader against the University of Chicago. They also split their series with UW Stout. However, they bounced back at home on Sunday afternoon with the sweep of Elmhurst. Here with more insight on what we continue to learn about this softball squad is the insider, Matt Ellis. Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. The Warhawks split their doubleheader with the Stout Blue Devils, winning the first game 8-0, but losing the second game by just 1 run, with the score being 2-1 in favor of the Blue Devils. Now, before that doubleheader with the Blue Devils, the Warhawks dropped a doubleheader against the University of Chicago on Wednesday, April 10th, where they were outscored in the 2 games by a score of 14-5. So this weekend was pretty important for the Warhawks to get back on track. Now, getting back to the series with Stout, in the first game, the Warhawks jumped out to an early 1-run lead after Kiera Kostrowski got on base with a single to left, eventually scored an unearned run off an error committed by the Stout shortstop. From there, the score remained 1-0 in favor of the Warhawks when they poured in 7 runs in the final 2 innings, with 6 of them coming in the bottom of the 4th. The game ended after just 5 innings, with the win going to Warhawks starting pitcher Maddie Anderson, who is now 5-0 on the year. In the second game, it was a bit of a different story. Neither team scored a run until about the 5th inning, where this time it was the Stout Blue Devils who got on board first, scoring twice in that inning. The top of the 5th started with Stephanie Kuhn of the Blue Devils striking out swinging, but from there, junior Alexa Anderson reached on base off an error when Warhawks starting pitcher Rhiann Dick was making the throw to first. Now, that error was followed up by another error, this time putting Mackenzie Wolterstorff on first, with Alexa Anderson now on third. A sacrifice bunt sent Alexa Anderson from third to home, and an RBI sent Wolterstorff into score from second. Now, the Warhawks would put up a run in the bottom of the 6th, but ultimately they would go on to lose this one, with the final score being 2-1. Now, the doubleheader between those two teams was an even 1-1 split. However, on Sunday, the Warhawks would bounce back, sweeping the doubleheader against Elmhurst, where they scored 7 runs in the first game and 5 runs in the second. In that doubleheader, Elmhurst was shut out in both games, and they're out hit by a margin of 22-7. Whitewater is starting to slowly become more battle-tested as the year goes on, which of course for the Warhawks is good to see.
Yeah, Matt, based off this past performance by the Warhawk softball team, what can we expect in the future?
Well, it's going to be tough going forward because now these are all WEAC teams, and I know we've talked about it multiple times that the WEAC is just a very tough conference to play in. I think what we can expect is runners that are focusing on scoring. This is a team that can get runners on base. They're going to have to convert those runners on base into scoring, and then the pitching staff has been really good at getting strikeouts, so that's going to be a focus on them going forward, continuing to get those strikeouts.
Matt, I know you mentioned Maddie Anderson. Thank you for that report, by the way. Talk to me about just the impact she's made on this team through the season.
Yeah, she's been good both as a pitcher and as a hitter. She had an RBI in Game 1 against Stout, and she's also been very good as a pitcher. She had 9 strikeouts in that Game 1. So as a pitcher and as a hitter, when you can play confident on both sides, that's definitely going to improve your performance. So I was definitely impressed with what she was able to do in that series.
Yeah, Matt, thank you for that report as well. The Warhawk softball team won the WEAC tournament last year, ended up being the WEAC champions. Do you think they could go back-to-back? And if so, what do they have to do to get there?
It's always tough to predict that. I'm not sure, but what they have to do is play confident, right? When you're in a tough conference like the WEAC, the one thing that you have to do is stay confident as the year goes on, because you're gonna get knocked down a couple times, but you're also gonna go on these little win streaks where you might win 2, 3, 4 games in a row. So if I had any advice for the squad, it's just to remain confident. And I really like to see the pitching staff get those strikeouts. So if that's a priority going forward, they should be doing well.
Hey, Matt, talk to me a little bit about Brenda Volk, head coach Brenda Volk's message to the team and just how she approaches these games going forward.
Well, she was happy with Maddie Anderson's performance after that Game 1. Essentially, she said when you have Maddie on the mound, you always have a chance. And now in that second game against the Blue Devils, she was happy with what her pitching staff gave her. She had about 7 strikeouts on the day, the Warhawks did in that Game 2. But offensively, it was just a different story. So essentially what she was reiterating is they had a good day pitching-wise, but when you have that performance from your pitchers, you need to be able to win those games. And we know in Game 2 against Stout, they weren't able to do that.
Thank you for that report, Matt. We'll look forward to seeing how the Warhawks will be tested when they work through the rest of the WEAC conference season. Coming up after the break, an update on Whitewater Baseball's hot streak and some insight on Warhawk tennis heading down the stretch of their spring seasons. We'll be back here on Warhawk Sports Central right after this.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk.
Come on!
Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk
at UW Whitewater.
You belong here!
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing so many people that were like-minded and so hardworking in their sport and academics, being surrounded by like-minded people makes you want to be more passionate. I think it pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you had, and you can do the best of both worlds and love all of it.
UWW-TV has been an important part of the campus and community since 1980.
Not only providing on-air learning opportunities for broadcast journalists and electronic media production students,
but educating and entertaining our audiences with award-winning news, live sports coverage, original programming,
as well as dedicating the mission to developing creative collaborations throughout campus.
For more information, visit our website and like us on Facebook.
Check us out because you got to see what's on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on!
Accepted anyways. Oh, she got that off, and they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals. Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV. UW-Whitewater Baseball was tearing the cover off the ball in last weekend's games against UW-Platteville and UW-Eau Claire. In these 6 games, they outscored their opponents 90-16 with 5 mercy rules and at least 14 runs scored in each game. Eli Frank, Matt Skolin, and Andy Tice all batted 500+ in this stretch, combining for 34 hits. Whitewater moves up to a 13-1 record in conference play as they now hold first place in the WIAC with 6 more conference games coming up this weekend. 4 of those games will be in La Crosse against the second-place Eagles. Don, talk to me a little bit about how dominant this team has been.
Yeah, this team has been it's great to watch. I got to, fortunately, broadcast the game. I broadcasted against UW Oshkosh where we won the first one, and then the second one was a close game. I want to say it was like 3-3 heading into the bottom of the 9th, and Dominic McVeigh hit a walk-off home run, and that was pretty hype for me to call. But I would say that this team is the hottest team in D3 baseball right now. I mean, 23-4, 7-game winning streak. You got guys, like you said, Eli Frank. We got Danny Hopper, Matt Skolin, like you said as well. Guys who you can expect 1 to 2 hits out of per game, and those hits are always huge. Maybe even some bombs being delivered, as in home runs. Right now, the boys are currently first in the WIAC. We're 13-1 against the WIAC, man. So pretty dominant against the WIAC. So when it comes to lacrosse, I think we should do fairly well. Our only loss was April 8th against UW Oshkosh, but as of April 9th, D3 Baseball had us ranked number 7. So we can expect to see them boys be ranked a little bit higher when Week 8 comes out. And we got 3 undefeated pitchers right now as well. 1 pitcher with 1 loss. Michael Hilker Jr. and Cade Barrett tied at 4-0. Jack Hagan, he's 5-0, and Max Hughesbow is also 4-1. And it just seems like all the small things about this baseball team is adding up, and they have really well chemistry together. They know what they're doing, and that's why they're so dominant right now. All the small things just add up.
I mean, this team, just to put their dominance in perspective, they have 6 players with an OPS over 1, which is just absolutely incredible. And they've just been, like we said in the script, tearing the cover off the baseball. I mean, it's just been incredible to watch. But looking at this lacrosse team as they face off this weekend, they actually swept a lot of these same players last year here in Whitewater, and lacrosse is no slouch either. They're ranked 9 in D3 baseball right now, and they can hit the ball really well. They actually scored 17 runs in one of their games, but definitely a concern for them is their pitching. They gave up 32 runs in 2 games over the weekend against UW Oshkosh, and if Whitewater can take advantage on the mound and in the batter's box, they're going to have a great chance to win these games, but they're going to have to do it through the names like Eli Frank, Matt Skolin, Danny Hopper, and a couple others. And on the mound as well, like you said, Michael Hilker Jr. and Cade Barrett are going to be huge pieces along with Max Hughesbow.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just a really good squad developed this year, and we can definitely expect some more winning throughout this time.
We now turn our attention to UW Whitewater tennis. The men's and women's teams both have winning records on the season, but they have trended 2 different ways since the beginning of the spring. Well, the men's team sits at 15-2 on the season, currently holding a 13-match win streak. The women's team has reached a rough patch, losing 7 of their past 9 matches following their WIAC title back in October. The men's team has their final WIAC matchup and senior day against UW La Crosse on Friday. After that, both teams have 2 more matches out of conference before they begin their postseason runs. Don, talk to me a little bit about how these teams have been contrasting as we come down the stretch.
Yeah, Chris, both sides of tennis doing okay, especially the men's. They're, like you said, they're 15-2. We are also 8-0 at home. 2-0 against the WIAC play lacrosse this Friday, like you said. That should be a good one to watch if we get some more WIAC play in. Like you said, currently on a 13-game win streak. Always great to look at. The boys are hot right now. What do you say? So Whitewater men's tennis is also looking to be the WIAC West champions. They're heading towards that right now. And if they do hold that, they will be battling the WIAC East champions, whoever that may be. And we can definitely look forward to that and the men's possibly being in the WIAC championship and winning a WIAC title. And then that brings us to the women's side. They're currently 8-7. Yes, right now they are on a rough patch, like you said. But Here's some positives to look forward to. They're 8-7. They're still over 500. That's okay. Currently on a 4-game losing streak. That's not that well, but they're 6-0 against the WEAC. So when it comes to the WEAC, we can definitely trust them into, building some momentum, building some hope for that. They're 4-1 at home, so pretty good at home. They're also first in the WEAC, like I said. So if we can just hold that, our women's team looks to be hopefully okay. And aside from all of this, what are some key players to look out for?
I mean, for the men's team, Ruben Giorgio and Luke Van Donseleer have been holding it down as the number 1 doubles team. They're 12-1 on the season, which is just absolutely incredible, almost unblemished through the year. And they've just been so well. They play together very well, and they just really perform on the tennis court. And Luke Van Donseleer also plays his number 1 singles, and he's 7-6 there. So he's been doing great. Not the best, but he's also been doing very solid there. And then on the women's side, Cassie Lee's been doing incredible in 1 single. She's 13-4 on the season. She's doing a great job. And Gracie Ha and her combined to play his number 1 doubles, and they've done their job there as well. And they've been bright spots on a team where depth's somewhat been an issue for the women's side.
Thank you for that, Chris. We will discuss UW Whitewater Women's Golf Spring Season, their final host meet, and what still remains ahead of them when we return to Warhawk Sports Central.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're gonna have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive influence. That's being a responsible person.
The Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. We're here to compete, to inspire, to grow, and to make history. We are rooted in tradition. For over a century, we have contended as the premier conference within Division III.
I shot the ball.
We are united throughout Wisconsin. All 8 of our full-time member institutions are based in our great state. But although Wisconsin is our home, our impact reverberates across the entire nation, crowning 180 national team championships and counting. Our mission is to shape student athletes who excel academically and athletically, equipped to become leaders in life. We are here to build on our enduring legacy and move boldly forward into the future. We are the WIAC, Excellence in Action.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV. Whitewater women's golf is competing well against some of the heavy hitters in their sport. This past weekend, the Warhawks placed 9th out of 21 teams at the Kathy Pagan Spring Fling in Normal, Illinois. The Warhawks were led by Lily Shepard, who shot a 74 in the first round and finished 19th overall in their individual side. They will host one more meet this weekend at Janesville Riverside Golf Course, the final meet on their schedule before the Division III National Championships coming up at the end of May. Chris, let's get into some results about this women's golf.
I mean, we talked about Lily Shepard already and Callie Lux, who both shot 155 and 159 respectfully, but they both broke 80 on the first day. And I think the conditions definitely had something to do with why they played differently on back-to-back days, because I know you're going to talk a little bit about this too. Conditions mean a lot in golf.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as I was doing my research about the weather this upcoming week, it's going to be rainy and chilly when it comes to playing down in Janesville. And like I said, it's gonna be a bit chilly and rainy, and we just experienced some hot weather here in Whitewater, some 70, 80 degree days. So it's definitely gonna be a little bit of a change. Obviously, it's gonna affect golf and the hitting and the wind and everything. So with wet grounds, it's gonna rain probably 3 days in a row. It won't rain 3 days in a row, but it'll be pretty rainy throughout the week. But the grounds are gonna be wet. It's going to be cold, so wherever the ball lands, you might not get much rolling out of that. So you have to either get a really accurate hit, or you can hope that the wind goes your way. We'll see where the wind blows. It's going to be just, high 50s, like 51, 52, possibly to the 55 area. So when it comes to that wet, chilly conditions, they may want to watch out for that.
Yeah, and Don, I've had the opportunity to play on Janesville Riverside course before. I would say the course, if I had to describe it in one word, it's deceptive. It looks a lot easier than it actually plays. I had a hard time, and I'm sure these golfers this weekend will have a tough time too. There's probably going to be some standing water out on the course, I would have to think. There's a few spots where you're hitting either down or uphill, the terrain changes. And like you said, the conditions definitely vary. How you play golf, it's just, when the air is a bit drier or wetter, it's harder to hit the ball further distances.
Thank you for tuning in to Warhawk Sports Central. Be sure to check out uwwtv.org for more sports, news, and other entertainment programming. From our insider Matt Ellis, Chris Pittner, and our entire studio crew, I'm Don Hernandez saying good night from UWW-TV's Conover studio. We'll be back with more coverage of UW Whitewater Athletics next time here on Warhawk Sports Central.